好了，各位隊友，大家好，我是大喬謝麥克。沒錯，呢，看完這幾集的 A 星工廠，就是這幾集介紹之後，我相信各位車友一定非常喜歡我們拍的這個。雖然觀看不多，但是呢，其實我也整理了很多，就是一些 Q&A 的精髓，想告訴大家。那我們接下來就來看我問他什麼問題。Go。首先呢，我問的第一個問題不外乎就是我們在2023年看到我們的杜卡迪廠隊在加泰隆尼亞站有一個車手叫做 Pecco， 他直接被車碾過他的脛骨。那這個問題其實存在我心中非常久，到底為什麼他沒受傷？哦，因為他隔天呢直接好好的跟大家說，我沒事啊，還可以走路，還可以笑什麼，然後隔天我接下來去運動啊。那我就問了他這個問題，來看一下他怎麼回答啊。
With that, PU outer on the outer boot, that's there really to protect the shin. But on top of that as well, we were talking about it at R&D1, the marriage between having the inner bootie, the leather suit over the top, and then the outer on top of that. So there's 3 layers of protection as well that's going to protect the shin there. There's a shin protector inside the suit that goes all the way from the knee cup down the shin, and then the boot will fasten that on the top there. So in the case of Pecco Bagnaya's crash in Catalonia, there was obviously protection that's supposed to help there. He also had the added help of the knee slider, was where what looked like the first point of contact.
所以各位车友知道了吧？以後知道下賽道骑山路通勤騎乘到底要穿哪一家的車靴了吧？知道了吧？好，那接下來的下一個問題，其實呢，那時候我們看到的不止就是只有壓到腿，因為他好像到最後連整個臀部啊什麼，而且他感覺這個很嚴重，你知道嗎？那各位其實，在那個放慢速度還有回波的時候，其實大家都有看到說他的身體有爆開一個很像氣囊的東西。那接下來就是我想要問他的問題，到底為什麼 Pecco 到底什麼東西讓他可以完好無缺？對。來看一下。
Yeah, it was the same. I was at the racetrack, and I think everybody had their sort of hearts in their mouths from it. It was a big high side, and then to also get hit by a bike as well wasn't good. But in that moment, I guess what happened, he had the high side, his airbag, which is basically based on the Tech Air 10. So he had hip protection with the airbag. So he landed on his hip and was airbag protected. And then when the bike went over his legs, he was lucky that the suit held up and that, he was somehow able to escape injury. Maybe he's made of steel a little bit as well. We can't take all the credit, but the fact is we make the products in order to be able to protect against that type of crash as well.
虽然呢，刚剛我們的 Chris 呢說開一個笑話，說也許那個 Pecco 的是用鐵做的嘛，但是呢，我相信啦，該穿的護具有穿好，是不是？護具夠屌，品牌夠厲害，夠用心在研發東西，我相信這個一定是毋庸置疑保護我們車手，好棒棒，好不好？所以呢，這是我們的那個 Chris 公開A 星的公開發言人的回答，所以呢，我們也相信他，這個產品呢。在這個氣囊衣確實做得不錯，好不好？保護了很多車手，包含很多 A 星的車手 ，Marc Marquez 的鎖骨啊 ，Quartararo 的什麼很多大家都保護到了。所以呢，期待一下我們的氣囊衣。再來第3個問題，我問的是 A 星之後是否有計劃探索或是擴展更新的市場，或是客戶的更多的需求？包含其實我比較想知道的是一些他們未來有沒有什麼？跟潮流品牌或是一些不一樣，在不一樣的區域或是整個造型版型改變上有沒有什麼計劃？那我們來聽聽看他怎麼回答嘍。
Alpine Stars is a global company, basically, so we're inclusive to everything and everyone. So there's no market that's out of reach for us. There's no market we can't sort of learn from, and there's no market we can't provide for. Basically, I think, we're truly a global company from from people that work at Alpinestars. I think your experience from being here is that there's people from all around the world based here at the company, and then on top of that as well, you know, anyone that shares a passion for what we do, we make products for. So it doesn't matter where you're from, there's no territory out of reach, and we're interested in every territory around the world.
各位知道我们公开发言人 Chris 的回答了吧？老實說，他這樣回答有他的用意，因為呢，其實我們知道 A 星他這個老闆 CEO， 他很用心的在研發商品上，甚至投了很多的資金在研發他們家的商品，是因為他一生啊，就是從聽他們周遭的人一些經理呀，還有剛剛像 Chris， 我們都有問到他，你們老闆其實。他們都會回答說，老闆是一個很用心在研發商品的人，而且他長期致力於在賽車場上，就是想要得到很多車手的回饋，不管是 Motocross 還是就是那種各摩托車運動哦，像 MotoGP 也好，他都會親力親為的去了解車手所有的反饋，所以呢，相信 A 星在未來的規劃一定是超強哇！再來下一個問題 ，A 星呢？已經在該行業中擁有了60年的歷史哦，跟大喬一樣啊。那您是否呢能強調一些你們就是當初所開發的一些很指標性的商品，或是真的很有創新的一個階段嘛？那我們來看他怎麼回答啊。
Yeah, you know, the first one obviously was when, you know, when the company started, much in the same as a lot of companies in this area. It was hiking and ski boots were the main areas of it. And Santi Mazzarola, who's founded Alpinestars, a leather craftsman, a skilled leather craftsman and a shoemaker by trade. But the biggest innovation and moment was where Santi Mazzarola had seen the development of motocross, you know, throughout Europe, and so Alpinestars made the first ever purpose-built motocross boot. So that was where the innovation started, and that started in the mid to late 60s. Was when that came out. I think about 3 years after the company started. And from there, it's just been, you know, decades of innovations, really, from the first purpose-built motocross boot, then moving into road racing boots shortly after. You know, the ethos of the company is using top athletes to develop these products. We saw today with Andrea Adamo and Jeremy Seewer taking a tour of the company, but it's the same. We developed that first motocross boot with Roger Da Costa. His name is, you know, dotted across the company. He's a real big history here. And the same with the road racing boot, it was Kenny Roberts Jr. Bringing things up to date, you know, moving into auto, working with guys like, I think, you know, Paul Tracy to make a boot, Christian Fittipaldi in the 90s to make an auto shoe, and then just continuing that develop, working with high-end athletes. So from developing from a footwear company to making everything, it's been full of innovations throughout it. The Supertech boot was a massive innovation for the company as well. It's the industry standard when it comes to road racing protection. But then the other big innovations that we've had, Tech Air was a huge one for us. You know, we started data collecting for Tech Air in 2003, if you can believe it. We were already gathering that data to try and understand the movements of riders on a bike. And to paint a small timeline of how that project went, in 2003, 2004, we were data logging. By 2006, we had a system that we were able to sort of have functioning. We were already doing crash testing with it, but we actually were able to get, you know, from behind the scenes testing in MotoGP, we were actually on track with a functioning system in 2009 at a race weekend. That was a major breakthrough for us. And in that period of time, it was very difficult to get riders to understand the safety benefit of an airbag system versus the extra weight they had to carry. So it took some convincing, and as with everything, sometimes it takes an unfortunate incident for people to want to use the technology, and that's really what happened through these next years from 2009 all the way through to 2012, 2013, where acceptance got bigger. But back then, the airbag coverage was the shoulder and the collarbone, and the electronics were quite big and heavy. But through those years, we were able to make the electronics smaller, we were able to make the airbag coverage bigger, and to the point where in 2018, the FIM, Federation of International Motorcycling, saw such a drastic reduction in collarbone injuries in particular, but also upper body injuries in general, that they made the technology mandatory across all classes of international bike racing. And that's followed into domestic championships and everything. But 2018 was the major breakthrough of this innovation that was birthed in 2003 for us. So it's been an incredible journey to get Tech Air to where it is now. And then from all of that work in racing, to then develop these products that are used across all types of motorcycling is a real achievement in itself. Only 5 or 6 years ago, the question was, should I ride with an airbag? And now in 2023, the question is, okay, which airbag suits my riding needs best? Is it the Tech Air 3, the Tech Air 5, the Tech Air 10, the Tech Air 7X, which is coming, Tech Air Off-Road as well. So you have different airbags for these things. So these are major innovations and such an investment that is, 2 decades long to get to where we are today and doing it. On top of that as well, with helmets, with the SR10 helmet, with the SM8 helmet, SM10 helmet as well. We're a company that's had to sort of move through, and even in our 60th year, we're releasing a completely new product, so we're always moving forward and always keeping an eye on.
都听到 Chris 的回答。其实呢，我们就我自己在了解 A 信这个品牌当中呢，其實他們最早就是在做靴子的，猶如剛剛 Chris 講的一樣。那其實靴子呢，他們一開始早期就是做越野靴哦，他們贊助了一個越野選手的這個靴子之後呢，他們其實就覺得說，哇，二輪市場和二輪的，就是我們車友其實很需要更多東西去保護。所以呢，他們就從靴子再發展到很多像手套啊、連身皮衣這種東西等等的，都是他們一直想要為車友做的。好，那再來呢，下一個問題就是，其實我也問到啦，因為像17、18年代啊，還有馬克斯剛進入 MotoGP 的時候，其實馬克斯呢扭轉了整個 MotoGP 的騎乘方式哦。為什麼我這樣說？是因為當時其實就很少人用磨手軸在過彎，那時候呢，Marcus 就是用一個非常極端的過彎方式，然後大家都去研究啊，說，這過彎方式到底是好還是不好？你壓那麼深，那到底會不會對你的速度有影響？還是它就是一個帥而已？大家都去研究，果然在隔幾年之後，所有人的騎乘方式都學模，就是也不是說不要說學，就是改變，因為這種的過彎方式確實能讓我們的單圈成績進步。哦，所以呢，由此而來。但是在近1-2年，有一個新秀叫做 Jorge Martin。那 Jorge Martin 呢，其實各位假如有看到照片的話，應該就知道說他過彎的時候磨肩膀。哦，剛才這個手肘完之後，又來個肩膀哥啊。所以呢，其實我們很好奇的是，磨肩膀這個過彎動作到底有沒有幫助，或是對未來的整個 MotoGP 的生態還有騎乘方式到底會不會改變？好，我們來聽一下 Chris 怎麼講。
Entirely possible. Everything develops through time. It's good that you mentioned Marc Marquez and elbow sliding, because actually one thing Marquez can claim innovation-wise, and one thing that we'll give him credit for, is that we didn't know we needed to have replaceable elbow sliders before Marc Marquez was regularly scraping his elbow. And it was really him that started that, and then that trend developed to other riders to it's something now that's just an absolute, every rider is doing it. And so, we have to meet the market and know what we need to do. And so, the same way that elbow sliders had to be manufactured, and I can tell you the first ones that we made for Marc Marquez, we were modifying toe sliders and velcroing them to the elbow of his suit in order to, deal with it, which gave us some time to then develop a specific product. And so we can see Jorge Martin, turn 2 at Barcelona, I think, is the most notable one, where incidentally that was probably the first corner where elbows were slid in those days. There's something about the banking of the corner that makes for just amazing photos like that. But the fact is, now that that's happened, the chances are it's probably going to happen with more frequency. And so you can rest assured that when the time comes to have that additional innovation ready, we'll be there for it, because we're at the racetrack all the time developing with our riders.
大家也聽到剛 Chris 講的這個答案啊。那反正呢，其實 老實說 ，A 星沒有什麼不可能，只怕你做不到哦。他們也是因為 Mark Marquez 因為用手肘過彎之後，他們設計了一個手肘滑塊，是可以拆卸、可以更換的。那他說未來呢，其實假如說大家都這樣騎，那他們就是改變啦，因為他們一直以來呢，所有的商品都是透過 MotoGP 車手的回饋，然後或是越野商品也是一樣，他們其實都是會收集很多車手的 feedback， 再來改出他們覺得最符合市場上的商品，所以他們用的東西或是改變的東西，一定是有它的道理在。好啦，那最後呢，其實希望各位覺得這種影片是好的啊，對你們有幫助的。因為我們想拍這個影片，其實花了非常多工，包含我們有拍了一支就是我們的肥肥攝影師124小時直接台北米蘭來回這樣子。那不得不說啦，要先幫他鼓掌一下就是他的那個辛苦啊。好，那反正呢，其實我拍这幾支用意就是想讓大家知道說，其實一個品牌連身皮衣的應該說機車部品的這個品牌啊，他們其實都花了很多時間，或是金錢也好，或是團隊他們都是很認真在研究商品。所以呢 ，A 星這个工厂不得不說，我覺得啦，真的是讓我大開眼界，是因為大家都知道，就是工廠可能會有一個想象空間，或者有一個就是大概的概念是工廠長這樣。但是呢，我去的時候，他們真的是比我想象中的還誇張，什麼設計部一個啊，然後什麼一棟啊，什麼這邊一棟那邊一棟的，所以好吧 ，A 星品牌期待一下。那未來呢，我也很期待它的台灣代理商大橋可以就是帶更多商品到台灣，好，希望大家多多支持啊！感謝，我是大橋謝麥克。假如說你喜歡我們的影片的話，麻煩底下留言跟我講，還希望看到我們開箱什麼或是怎麼樣的。OK， 那幫我按在訂閱下分享，拜拜。